Welcome to the Serious TV Drama Podcast, Survivor Edition. I'm your host, Scott, but carrying almost as many sandbags as me as we try to bail out this leaky boat of an episode, someone I suspect, unlike her namesake, would have been just fine skipping this week's Sanctuary reward. It's the Tiffany who does belong here. Hey, Tiffany, how are we doing tonight?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Ba- Based on that chuckle, I'm wondering I should ask right off the bat. So, what are we drinking tonight, Tiff?
So this is a broke week, so I have Barefoot Cabernet Sauvignon, 4.99.
Okay, I don't know what any of that means. All right,
Red wine, Scott, red wine.
gotcha. Like that song, Red Red Wine. Anyway, disgusting. And speaking of which, we are here to discuss this week's episode of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans, titled Knife to the Heart. And you're to blame. So let's begin at the beginning, which is the natural place to begin, which finds us in the dark over at Camp Vatu in the post-Q blindside vote. Let's just hit the basic highlights of info here. You have because we don't refer to her by her first name on this podcast. We have Gross reacting to the Q vote because that was one of her main allies. We also learn, I don't know if we learn, but it's confirmed for us. Apparently, that Emily convinced Ozzy to vote out Q, or at least that's what she says. But you know what? It does track based on what we saw in the previous episode. Hurrah, hurrah. We also learned that Angelina was almost going to use her shot in the dark. I'm not sure about this, and you can correct me on this one. Oh, and I knew there was something from last week I was supposed to check and be corrected on, and I've totally forgotten what it was. So, oh well. About something being random or not, forgot to look it up. Is this the first confirmation that we've gotten that the shot in the dark, shark for short, which is better than a shark. The shot in the dark is in play this season because I don't recall them referencing the shot in the dark until now. I mean, unless do you
No,
recall
I
if they
think this
mentioned it?
is the first confirmation that it is in play.
And I'm not enough of a super fan, and quite frankly, I would never call myself a super fan because I've only watched every season once, like normal human beings. Um, it's not just you; it's a lot of people, but here it's you. Um, I don't remember how far back the shot in the dark goes. Did they have the shot in the dark pre-New Era? Do you remember?
Yes,
They
they
did.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I remember all the times it didn't work, but I couldn't remember if that was always in the New Era or not. I remember I think the one time it worked, kind of a thing, or whatever it was.
It's worked a couple of times.
Twice, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
One time it was really amazing. Then the guy got voted out the very following week.
Yes.
The very episode. It was like, I'm rooting for you now. You're gone. Anyway, get back to the season. It's actually good. We also find out that Angelina now knows that Gross has targeted her. They're targeting each other, quite frankly. And we know that Ozzy would have preferred to go after Angelina because you know what? He wants to be Mike White's his number one guy. And honestly, would Mike White want that? I thought about this. I said, you know what? Maybe. Because that phrase I like to use on Survivor, Ozzy would be a pretty good meat shield for him. And,
I don't know. Like, I feel like at this point, I don't know that Ozzy is such a threat that he's any worth being a shield. Like, no one
I think,
considers
think
Ozzy a strategic threat. I mean, even physically now, he's not been as impressive in this season.
but has anyone outperformed him this season? Other than like Jonathan the Hulk, who still didn't win, who still didn't end up winning later on the first prize and the next one later on anyway. I mean, did you notice like in the challenge, he let everyone go, and then he dives in like 30 seconds after everybody else. He still beats them to the damn platform.
It's Dolphin Boy. Of course he's gonna beat them. Like,
all right. See, some of us were able to check our previous biases at the door when we do the podcast. Some of us cannot. Anyway, back to the cooler point I wanted to make. When we have this moment here, but Ozzy talking about Mike White wanting me as number one and da da da, and I thought, oh, how little did we know that when we hear this in the opening, just the first few minutes of this episode, it was going to be a direct bad bellwether of what would happen in the closing minutes of this installment. So I know there's not really much else to say about the first few minutes here, Tiff, but, pretending as we often must that we, like we didn't see the 85 minutes that followed it,
Mhm.
you know, did Ozzy's original plan make more sense?
Um,
Like to go after Angelina?
so I was rooting for Mike White, like, I like Mike White, so I
Okay.
was on side with keeping Angelina for him.
Okay.
I guess if you're Ozzy, that would have made more sense, but
Well,
I was not unhappy with the outcome.
all right. You were now, are you referring to the outcome from of the previous episode, not this current episode, correct?
Mhm.
Just to make sure we didn't jump ahead. We haven't jumped the shark and jumped way too ahead because
No, I'm
I'd be
still
very
fine.
cross with you. Now, here's my thinking. I'm gonna stay with me here. I was thinking about this because, as I mentioned to you just before we started recording, one of the things I've always enjoyed doing at Survivor during good seasons, whether it be the American Survivor or even a few times with Australian Survivor, I've done it there as well. I like thinking about the different hypotheticals of what if it had gone this way instead. The almost like making a Survivor multiverse kind of a
Mhm,
situation. Now, I was thinking about it. What if Ozzy had gotten his way in the previous episode and they hadn't voted out Q? And what if they had voted out Angelina?
mhm,
Is it not likely to have changed this episode fairly dramatically? Now, first thing is, if Q is on that team as opposed to Angelina, one can debate whether it is or isn't more likely that they do better in that challenge. Maybe they don't get stuck in that net, but they still lose regardless. Let's say they lose anyway. Let's say that
mhm,
replacing Angelina with Q wouldn't have made enough of a difference because it's not like they might have lit up the arch anyway at the end there. Okay, they've voted out Angelina. Now they're going to final. And here's how I think that would go. Because I'm pretty sure Mike White, Christian, and Emily at that point are going to be tilting towards voting out Q then, right?
mhm,
Because Mike White wanted to vote him out in the first place. Emily, also has issues with him. Christian would have no problem. Doesn't impact him whatsoever. So then you have on the other side Ozzy, Gross, and Q. Who would they have targeted? So I'm thinking if Ozzy wants White to stay because he still wants to, link up with him,
mm,
would they have gone after Emily or Christian? I think see, it might have went to a three-way tie, but I think somebody would switch sides. I think White switches because he did this episode and he targets Emily. And I think Emily would have went home in this episode. So I think that's probably
mm.
what would have happened.
You don't think they would have targeted, Christian?
No, I don't think they would have targeted Christian. They didn't bring it up this episode even. So they certainly wouldn't have I, I think I think the three of them are going to go after Q, and I think if they um wait a minute, where was I? I kind of lost track of my thought there. Kind of
Q,
Mike White, Christian, and Emily are going to go after
yeah,
are going to go after Q.
mhm.
Um, how's
That's
it called?
Christian,
I'm just
that's
reading.
Ozzy.
See, I just think they get someone to flip and they go after Emily. Or worst case scenario, they still go after Q and they just get rid of Q in this episode, which still works for me. That way we get to keep Mike White. Anyway,
Mm.
it's just the kind of thing I enjoy thinking about. I didn't mean to go on that long about it. Maybe I'll do some editing later. Don't know. Anyway, let's get back to the show. We get some goofy silliness at Camp Priscilla, where they're now having not a fashion show this time, it's a talent show. And Rizzo, he wins for his Mickey Mouse impression, which was simply more impressive than, Rick's juggling, the goofy fake fighting between Jonathan and Charlie. Yeah, I did the goofy thing as a Mickey Mouse kind of connection. I kind of screwed up my notes here. Um, who cares about all that? It's silly. Blah, blah, blah. Fun. Who cares? What's far more interesting is that little issue that we heard Charlie had in the previous episode, little issue he had with Riz that we heard about during a little confessional, whatever. Oh man, that's
Mhm.
still burning like a bonfire in Charlie's head. he can't wait to get rid of Riz and his past and possibly present tendencies to stab friends in the back. Um, and I kept thinking, oh, this is making Tiffany so happy because you're a fan of Charlie to begin with, and you don't like Riz. I know that. And the setup that we got last week for this, and realizing, oh no, this is going to be a continuing thing. This isn't just something they just say in one episode and they kind of forget about it. This is a, we've not meaning to reference a show that I have no interest in watching. We've got a little bit of a heated rivalry going on here. And what's funnier is that one of them doesn't even really know it yet
That's the best part for me. I love it.
because it's going to be playing Riz for an idiot.
But my only thing, with this and, again, I love Charlie,
Hmm.
I don't want him to get tunnel vision,
Right, right.
you
And
know?
yeah, you're absolutely right. And that is something I worry about with someone else that'll come up shortly. And it does concern me with these kind of situations. But I was having a little bit of a survivor conversation with another long-standing member of the STVD All-Star Squad. And one of the things we admittedly were enjoying this season, it's not simply the unexpected combinations of players and duos and alliances that we've got. Which is all very cool and interesting. But that was the kind of thing we all thought of going into it. The thing we didn't think of, or at least I should speak for everyone in the world, or even both people on this podcast, I'll speak for myself. It didn't occur to me that you might have some interesting rivalries and people in opposition to each other. And our friend, he likened it to like kind of a comic booky or cartoony kind of a thing, like the Justice League and the Legion of Doom, when you had these people in opposition to each other and they're kind of weird parallels to each other or the complete opposites of each other. And we're getting a lot of that this season, and it's kind of been the most interesting thing on top of what's already a pretty decent season. I mean, you've got your Genevieve versus Aubrey, you've got your Joe versus Rick Devens, you got Charlie versus Rizgod, you've got pretty much every other female player versus Siri, apparently.
I know. Yeah, that is the added bonus thus far. I'm enjoying it, like so, obviously, I really love the Charlie versus Rizzo. Um, I'm really because I like both players. I
Up,
love
here it comes.
Genevieve. I know, I like Genevieve.
I know
I
it's literally exactly where I'm about to go in my notes. We're right there. We're
know.
right there.
Okay, okay.
No, you can
Well,
that
I'm
you
just saying,
talk
like,
about it.
that one is harder for me because I'm like, "Oh, I really want you guys to work together," but Aubrey was so like, "Oh,
Well, s
why can't you?"
well, speaking of those 2, the Aubrey or V Genevieve, we hop over to the Kahlo tribe, and we see that feud that we were just talking about here. Talking about. It's still a thing, to the point where I think, you know what? I gotta think Genevieve is deliberately trolling Aubrey at this point.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
she's calling out her name when she's only been out of sight for a few minutes, at least that's how Aubrey tells it, making a funny Ricola commercial reference, if I recall.
Yes.
And Aubrey is getting increasingly more and more annoyed. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Genevieve. Personally, I find it all really pretty damn funny. My concern, it goes back to what you were literally just saying. Oh, I'm using the word literally too much. I'm going to stop after that. You were just saying this about Charlie. My concern is with Genevieve. I hope that she doesn't lose sight of the bigger picture because it seems she's focusing so much on Aubrey.
Mhm.
But then again, one must realize that's the edit that we're being given. When we only spend, 2 minutes listening to Genevieve and that's what she talks about, as Aubrey, that's how we look at it. And then you say the same thing about when she's referring to certain singers later on. Anyway, she's clearly focused on more than that because you know what she does? She goes and finds herself another boomerang idol. By the way, I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to speak for both of us on this one. We are not going to keep saying the singer's name that's attached to that idol because at this point it feels really, really stupid. I'm tired. As much as I mean, and I have no problem with the singer. I actually like the person, like her in interviews. She's been funny on Saturday Night Live, whatever. Don't care. Tired of the forced, contrived way we have to keep saying that over and over. You know, there's something that we probably don't have the most positive opinion about this episode, but at least that person got up off their ass, took a took a plane or whatever all the way there and participated and actually did something. This one,
Yeah.
oh, you made a deal to have your name said 18,000 times. Oh, it's driving me crazy. Anyway, let me stop ranting. Get back to the show. Uh,
Wait,
oh,
question.
sure, sure.
Well,
No, go ahead.
I
Please.
hope that so is this the only idol that we're gonna have in play, it seems like this season? Just
I'm
this
gonna
this
say
boomerang?
no. I'm gonna say no, but I don't know. I mean, we need the show to get basically, we need some people to either use idols, so then maybe an idol comes into play, or get voted out with idols, so it gets boomerang back, whatever. But I mean, it's adding an element. It's a great question because there's part of me that says, "Oh, I hope you can just find like a regular, normal idol," but then there's part of me like, oh, but I don't want the show to be, like, overflowing with idols,
Yeah,
because that takes a lot away from it too,
yeah.
especially when you get players that are this good. I mean, the only idol I care about in this game is the fake one that Rick and Christian have planted, because that's the one I'm waiting to see how that gets used. Um, I figure there's gotta be more than just those, but who knows? I don't know. My belief is it may be once one. Oh, I just thought of something. If one gets played, then they tend to put one back into the game. But if someone is voted out and they leave at the idol, all
They
the idols are boomerang
well,
idols. It just goes back to someone else anyway, so another idol doesn't get put in the game. But at a certain point, when does everybody know that the nature of the idol is a boomerang idol? Because obviously, a number of players know, but a lot of players I don't think know as of yet. They have no one's told them anything about this yet. So you can have some players who think, oh, let's say they find out someone has an idol, but they figure out a way to, if they can't flush it, to vote the person out with the idol. They're going to think an idol is just going to pop up back on their beach or something. They're not going to realize that that idol is boomerangs back to whoever gave it to them in the first place if they're not aware of that situation.
mhm.
That's interesting. It's just, it. Now, the more I think about it, I think it just adds a level to the game that we haven't had before. So
I
I'm okay with it.
so I'm okay with it thus far, and I love the way that, Genevieve, when she found it and she was just like, "Okay, this is the idol, like, I really want this to come back to me. I think that I can manipulate Rizzo to get that," I love that she did that, like,
I wanted to ask you, putting personal or whatever our views of Riz aside, did we think this was the right person for her to send it to? She mentioned, that she can, but does she really know that? Because she can't really know the kid. He came on 2 weeks after his show, and it's not like he was from a previous season where they might have met at conventions or get-togethers, whatever. They just knew each other just this brief time. The other thing is what she doesn't know, and what none of them probably know, they don't know about Riz's what his past history is with idols.
yeah, they don't.
However, it occurs to me if he tries that shtick with the having the idol, making everyone know he has it, and almost daring them, and people don't vote against him. I don't know if that would work in a tribe of more seasoned players. They might go, yeah, let's just get rid of you. Might be a
That's
recipe.
what I'm thinking, like, I want him to try it because I don't think that old school survivors are gonna go for that.
I don't think so either, but I kind of I'm I don't mean to give him credit. I mean, I'm not as anti him as you. I kind of I have I'm kind of 50-50 for the most part. I want to think he's smart enough to not play the same way again because of the people he's playing with. That's why. I think he might think that's not going to work. Especially, I mean, I don't know. I can't remember which tribe he's on, but isn't he on the same tribe as like Siri and them and Rick Devens and them? Like they're
Yeah.
you're on the tribe with some of the smartest players that have ever played Survivor. I don't think they're going to fall for that the way the people did in your previous season. I'm thinking, I mean, we know that. I'm thinking he's intelligent enough to figure that out. Let's see. It'll be hysterical if he does and it backfires. I just tend to think he's not going to do that, but we'll see. I want him to be brought back. If he's going to get brought down, I want it to be by Charlie anyway. So that's
Me too.
because that has gotten me into being anti-Riz because I'm so pro Charlie. All right, let's get to the immunity challenge. We get some at least facial reactions to Q being voted out. I personally think that stuff has been edited out because I believe voting out Q would probably be more of a shock for more players. So I bet there was comments that they just decided not to leave in because
Mhm.
all this stuff is edited. Oh, and this challenge. Oh, what is it? Oh, by the way, I now discovered I'm doing a Survivor podcast. The most uninteresting thing is trying to describe what the challenges are. Okay. So I'll just do it this way. So basically, you're swimming to a spot to get these hanging buckets, and then there's these boats that are submerged underwater that are filled with sandbags, and you gotta haul all the sandbags out of the boats, and you gotta use those buckets to bail out the water from the boats that you're gonna haul back onto land, and you got all these big letter blocks that are in the boat, and you're eventually gonna be pushing it through a net, which eventually leads to an arch puzzle where you spell this big word in an arc. But yeah, that's it. But who cares about that? Because you know what? It's not just an immunity challenge, people. There's a reward. And the focus of the reward. Oh my lord. Oh, Jeff, wait. Was he kind of rhyming or singing again? Stop, Jeff. Just stop. Don't do that. But he's giving hints about who their guest might be. And apparently, Dee is a big fan of whoever it is, because she clearly guesses it well before the guy walks out of the bushes. And it turns out to be country singer Zach Brown. Yeah. Um, who also turns out to be a really experienced spearfisher. And the reward, kids, it's going to be a meal that's hunted down and prepared by Zach Brown himself, who, other being a major country recording artist, is apparently also a Survivor super fan. Now, we could comment now, or we can wait till we're at Sanctuary. I'm going to wait till we're at Sanctuary because it's it's more fitting to do it there. Let's just get to the challenge because there ain't that much to it. What happened in the challenge? Callow wins. Scylla, despite having the behemoth Jonathan on their team, comes in second, and Vatu just can't get themselves out of the net and earns yet another ticket straight back to Tribal Council, just the way Ozzy predicted was going to happen after voting out Q. Although, as we said earlier, we're not sure that would have made a difference, but you never know. I got to say, I don't know if there was really anything all that interesting about the challenge itself to keep talking about. You know what I mean? Other than how clearly upset D was, but we'll be talking about that in a minute. So unless there's something I should, put myself on pause and let you say, we can go right to Sanctuary and then we can have a little fun.
Yeah, I think we can go right to
Yeah,
Sanctuary
we go
then.
right to Sanctuary. You know what? We can skip. No, I kid, I kid, I kid. We head over to Sanctuary. Where we actually do spend a lot of time with Zach Brown, who clearly actually does know what he's doing when it comes to both spearfishing and maybe even cooking too. All right, look, I'll be honest here. I've heard of the artist Zach Brown Band. I've heard of them. I've heard the words. But before watching this episode,
Mhm.
I couldn't have told you that they were a country band or a pop band or whatever band. I don't know one song by them. And maybe that's just me. I'm sure a lot of people watching, CBS and Survivor know who he is, know them, fans of their music. I mean, it is CBS for Christ's sake. Every other fucking show and special has some country music connection on that network. The whole fucking schedule feels like Taylor Sheridan's leftovers. Even most of their crime shows, other than like Elsbeth and Matlock and that warmed over Wahlberg crap, is like borderline cowboy, farmer, fireman, fucking nonsense, whatever. Uh, what I'm saying is that I might not be the target audience here. And I don't want to make something like a stereotype here, as Beyonce taught us all a few years ago. But Tiffany, as I'm sitting there watching all this, I was like, oh, you know who must really be loving this? I bet Tiffany's just such a big fan. I mean, he's got Brown in his name. That's got to count for something. Yeah, I made that joke.
Okay, I will say this. had no clue who the fuck a Zach Brown was.
Mhm.
I'm sure that the other Tiffany who was at the sanctuary probably had no fucking clue who Zach Brown was. But even in all that, what we saw
Yeah.
from him, he seemed like a decent guy. Seemed like a cool guy. Can't fault it. I would have,
Yeah.
because I was thinking at one point, I was like, I know that Tiff and Dee are really close. Is Tiffany gonna give up so that Dee could go because Dee's such a big, huge fan? And I'm thinking, would I have done that just to kind of solidify that alliance and
Mm,
kind of,
but
and then I'm
well,
thinking, yeah,
once you
no.
no, once you do that, then it's out. Then everybody knows that that alliance
Yeah.
exists. Whereas right
But then I
now,
was
other than
yeah.
Camilla, no one would know.
But then I was thinking, yeah, fuck no, I'm not gonna give up a reward where I have the opportunity to eat, and she's a winner. She's got $1 million. She can buy fucking tickets to see Zach Brown if
Yeah,
she's that much of a fan. Yeah, I would've gone.
exactly. Boo hoo, millionaire, don't care.
Exactly. I'm like, I would've gone, I'm gonna be in,
But
and
I
I
was
would
think, but
have it
I
up.
was again. It was part of a brief conversation I had earlier this afternoon. I was thinking about it. It's like, well, what if some, a musician or someone that was a, say I did the show and not now, oh,
Mhm.
not now because everyone I could think of was way too old to be walking on a beach or something. But let's say it was 20 years ago or something I was on, and they had I don't know, Billy Joel walks out or something like that. I don't know, and I like, and then I didn't. Then my team came in second. Like I wouldn't be crying, but I'd be sulking a whole fucking lot.
Yeah, I
I
get it, I
you
get it.
know,
I get it, yeah.
now okay, I mean, the one good thing for Dee is, quite frankly, I mean, good for her that she's actually a big fan of this guy because that's the only way she got any decent screen time on the show. Otherwise, not saying she's getting a purple at it, but, it's not exactly, a good one.
Mm,
Okay, so, we have the sanctuary time with Zach Brown, you know, he hunt them big fish. I like seeing sharks though. That's kind of cool. I was like, oh shit, sharks. He's like,
yeah,
because he's doing this for real shit, because he's also got more fucking equipment and he can probably go deeper than what like Jonathan and those morons are doing. But and apparently food looked good. Hey, I think Coach has the best ahi tuna he's ever had. It's like,
mm,
okay, sure, that means nothing to me, Coach. Here's the thing, and it was nice to see them having a good time. Who cares? But I kept thinking, but okay, I get he's a big deal, but unless you are a really legitimate fan of the guy, and I don't know if any of them, I'm sure a few of them were,
yeah,
like the older fellow Colby probably was a big fan of this. That wouldn't surprise me. But beyond that, to call this the best reward ever on Survivor. Remember back in the day, you rewatched 25 years worth of Survivor.
mhm,
Correct me if I'm wrong. Were there not Survivor rewards where people were airlifted, took helicopters?
yeah,
You went to the local villages and experienced the culture of these
yeah,
areas. It wasn't just Fiji. You went to other places. You did
yeah.
you had massages and
You
food
had your
and
family
your
that
family.
year. Yeah, like the year when it was like all what was it, Winners at War or All Stars or whatever, and they brought like just not just your spouse, but your kids there. So there have been like
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's I mean, if I could see if maybe if it had been Billie Eilish. No, I kid. Anyway, so here's the thing. At this point in the episode, Tiffany, we're a little more, I think, just a teeny bit more than 2/3 of the way through the episode.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, at this point, this episode is shaping up to easily be the worst of the season. If and be, so kind of leaving me so kind of meh that I'm just thinking, wow, I could have been this season could have began with the number 4, and I don't mean ending in a 0 the way this episode is going.
Mhm.
But I gotta say, and we're gonna get into them now, those last 20, 25, 27, 8, whatever the hell minutes it was,
Mm,
those minutes might be the reason why folks like us, and hopefully most of you, is why we watch Survivor.
yes.
because we spend the remainder of the episode, rightfully so. Oh, wait, I think I left out something here before we get there. We do take a brief detour during the sanctuary thing. We do detour over to Silicamp, and we see Rizzo has gotten the idol that Genevieve sent for him. We've already talked about whether that was a questionable decision or not, so let's get to what we wanted to talk about. The Batu tribe. We get people targeting people and then changing direction and aiming for other targets and then realizing what the bigger threats are and then targeting them and so on and so forth. So much, so intense, so much fun and tense also. So I'll hit the high points and you can, chime in as you see fit during whichever ones you want to talk about. Obviously they all interconnect because it kept changing, which kind of what made it so much fun. Okay, we'll start with Mike. Mike is pointing out once he realizes that Angelina is being targeted. It shows level 1, level 2, level 3 of how Mike and his intelligence makes it clear to Angelina, who he wants to keep in the game. Angelina is no threat. It's like, why get rid of why get rid of someone who is not going to win the game? Why do that? That doesn't make sense. But that Emily is a danger. Emily's dangerous. Emily's in his sights.
Mhm.
You have multiple times during all this where there are conversations about Ozzy, either to fill him in or leave him out of the voting, and as Mike White would say, fix it later. At different points and whatever. Christian is at a loss initially, not the first time in these 20 minutes, because he wants to keep Emily in the game due to the fact he had an alliance with her since day one. He's talking with Mike about this. Now, Mike, moving up another level, maybe 2 levels here, he artfully points out that Christian, you know what you're doing, Christian. You're repeating a pattern, Christian.
Mm.
Emily, you know who she is? She's basically Gabby
Mm.
all over again. Remember how that went. And that sends Christian into a bit of a tizzy. Christian, as more than I had seen him before, even when he was despondent about thinking he cost his tribe one of the challenges and whatever, more so than before, at least for the moment, it looks like Christian was spinning out of control. He's getting emotional about it. We switch over to a Mike confessional. The Mike confessional, which was fucking amazing.
Mhm.
And he's talking about being manipulative. Oh, by the way, quick memo to Genevieve. Maybe don't talk about being manipulative. Maybe that's a jinx. Just keep that one in mind. He talks about having, regretting, but he has to be Machiavellian. And by the way, I'm big on being Machiavellian. And at this point, we all think we know where this episode is heading. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. And then something changes. Christian changes. Christian breaks out of his Mike-induced malaise. Forget the David v. Goliath tribal alliance. He has just experienced firsthand how deadly, how dangerous Mike White can be. And now that's who he wants to target. Tells Emily, points out to her, she was the intended target of Mike White, therefore fueling her more than any other reason to vote out Mike White. But here's where it starts to go awry again, because, maybe Christian spent so much time remembering Gabby from season 37, he forgot what happened just a couple days ago. Or maybe he just thought someone would be sane. I don't know. Because Emily starts to get fidgety because she doesn't want to keep this from Ozzy. Christian, he thinks maybe he's made it clear why she can't tell Ozzy. But sadly, Christian has forgotten yet again. He's dealing with the new Chaos Cass. She's not Chaos Cass. She's Anarchy Emily.
Anarchy Emily.
That's her name from now on, guys. Anarchy Emily. Because once they're at camp, she pretty much immediately tells Ozzy, in front of everyone else, no less. It's unbelievable. And
I
it just all comes just spewing out of her like the exorcist spitting up green pea soup vomit. Eh, What okay, look, I remember her pros and cons from the last time she was on. I don't remember this.
I don't
What's
know
happened to her?
what has happened to her. Like, I don't understand how you can see a clear path to work with her
Oh, yeah.
anymore.
I know that. Yeah, Christian is epileptic. She's like, she did it. And a question for Chris, or a question for Christian, a Christian question, if you will. Christian, why, after this, never mind how the vote goes. We all know how the vote goes. We
Yeah.
guys haven't talked about it yet. But even after this, why in God's name are you going to want to remain aligned with this person, Christian?
Mm-mm.
You need either another tribal mix-up or a merge to happen, and the merge ain't going to happen anytime soon. So you better hope there's you better hope there's another tribal mix-up, and they just make it a two. I mean, next week there's going to be a double elimination thing, so they certainly aren't going to be doing it too soon. But they might do it soon enough. I personally think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to reduce it to two tribes, and then it'll be a merge. But I could be wrong. But I hope I'm not. But why on earth do you want to stick with this one? Because all she's done is screw up, and you keep now. Fortunately, he's found a way around it, but still, oh my god,
It's too like,
unbelievable!
the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Ah, I love that phrase.
Like,
So,
for real.
so this is all in his head, and now he's conflicted again about how he's going to vote again, just before they're getting ready to leave for tribal, because now it's like, okay, now this is all within the space of 10 minutes, maybe. I don't, maybe less, maybe more. I don't know. I didn't have the stopwatch going here. Um, I'm like, okay, I know where they're going with this. Oh no. Okay. Now I know where they're going with this. Oh, okay. No, I'm not sure. And there's nothing better than going to tribal council as a viewer, and you're not sure.
Mhm.
The only other thing I personally want to point out before we get to tribal, or before you, if there's anything more you want to say on, or we can talk about other stuff if you like. It's interesting to note that because you have six people left here, right? Who the major players are here, who aren't. Because major players here, it's your Mike White, it's your Ozzy, it's your Christian, it's your Emily. Angelina's playing a considerably smaller part. She's kind of like, she's not doing well as me victim, but she's targeted, and she's basically dependent on others. She's not really doing anything for her own cause. And Gross just keeps finding out about stuff and keeps being redirected this way, then that way, then this way, then that way, to the point where, like, she's probably still reeling from the fact she lost one of her main allies and doesn't seem to know how to proceed. It I kind of like the flurry and confusion going into it. I mean, even though it made me nervous because, you know, it's not like at least one or more of the players are people I dislike. And that's the great thing about watching it, especially an all-star level season, excuse me, of Survivor, is like quite often I might actually like a few of the players, and I start worrying about who's going to get kicked off or not. And here's the thing: you, and if we're not on the exact same page, we're close to it. Went into the season, I didn't care about Mike White being on the show. I didn't really see the point of bringing him back because he doesn't need to be on the show, or whatever. And I was really happy and really a big fan of Emily. Thrilled she was on the show. I really want to see her go far. In fact, she was originally in my top five, top three. That I kind of switched it around, before we start the season. As we go to tribal council here, I've done a total 180. Don't, whatever you do, do not get rid of Mike White. And Emily, oh my God, no one can play with you. You need to go now.
Absolutely. I wanted her gone. I was like, "Come on, Christian." But then I also understood, like,
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
love that Christian picked up that Mike White was like, I was like, "Oh,
it's a great moment. I mean, we get someone else having a bit of an epiphany during tribal council, but it's that epiphany for a Christian there and being able to snap himself out of that. I mean, it was almost cartoonish, but it was great. So tribal, look, beyond the obvious, Mike White's going to be funny at Tribal. That goes without saying. Christian's going to be somewhat profound, but still kind of amusing, a little strange, whatever.
Mhm.
And then Emily, she seems to have kind of a brief epiphany. And it's more about the fact that she might be in trouble because she's feeling an off vibe.
Mhm.
I got to tell you, right then, when that happened, when she said that, I was like, okay, here it is. It's going to be bye-bye, Emily. That's right.
Mhm.
And again, season started, I would have been like, no. Right here, I'm going, yeah, you know what? You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Mhm.
And then we get to the vote. We even get Mike White saying Emily is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Mhm.
But when the votes are revealed, we see it's Mike White who goes home in a 3-2-1 vote breakdown. I do like the thing he says to he was even surprisingly cool. Well, not I shouldn't say surprisingly, but cool when he was getting his torch. And I was like, "Great party, man. Sorry I have to leave so early." Good line, man.
Yeah.
And then you had that little moment, and I think it was between Ozzy and Christian, where
Yes.
Christian says, "I'll catch you up," and Ozzy's like, "Too late." Ozzy's clearly not happy about it. All I'm gonna
Ozzy.
say, he'll find out. All I want to say to Ozzy is, that's not the person you should be mad at. You weren't even aligned with Christian. That's not the guy you should be mad at. You should be mad at the person you were aligned with who switched their vote on you.
Yeah.
That's who you need to be mad at.
Yeah.
The woman whose first name we don't use on this, she switched her vote. She didn't vote with you. The person who was aligned with you. That's the person to be mad at, not Christian, who you didn't really have an alliance with to begin with.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we'll wait and see what happens on the beat, back at camp next episode and see who Ozzy is lashing out at. He clearly is not happy about it. And
So
I wasn't, I thought gameplay it was brilliant and a smart move and the better of the two possible moves. And yet you'd have good reasons for either one, but it's this overall, it might be the smarter move.
it's absolutely a smarter move. Mike White was definitely a bigger threat than
Yes.
Emily. Um, but I really hope that Christian kind of like cuts his ties with Emily. You can't
Well,
play
yeah, but
a
that's
long game with her. She's just too, and she wasn't like this her first season. I don't understand why. Is she intimidated by some of the, like
I think she's putting a level of pressure on herself, and so she's as a result she's not trusting anything, including her own instincts at times. So she's doing that. I mean, it's unfortunate to see it happen because I think she's a much better player than that.
yeah,
She's actually done some things and made some moves which are kind of interesting and good, but they're getting way overshadowed by the stupidity of things where she's just, how much better would she be if she wasn't fucking blowing these things up the way she's been doing?
yeah,
This move on a season where technically anyone getting voted out, almost anyone getting voted out, might be considered a big move. Anyone except, Angelina or your friend Tiffany. Um, if we're keeping it 100, to me, at this point, voting out Mike White at this point is the biggest banishment of the season. Has to be. Because first one, Jenna didn't cause a ripple when she was cut.
mhm,
Kyle, it was sad that he got injured, but it wasn't that big a deal,
yeah,
because he was a winner already. Same goes for Savannah, because no one really knew her game anyway.
mm,
Q might have been the biggest name of personality they got rid of, but no one really thought, no one was really that worried about Q other than the only worry about Q was I can't work with Q. They're not worried about Q winning. Mike White's the one you worried about because that's a guy that, regardless of him being a millionaire and all the other stuff, dude
yeah,
can still fucking win this game. And
absolutely,
we saw it in action here. It's like going, oh, so when people talk about why we like the strategy part and that kind of thing, the best about Survivor, he was putting it on display with what he was doing and what he was telling us during his confessionals, and it was. Obviously, one could say, "Well, it didn't work because Christian broke out." Like, yeah, Christian broke out of it, but for a second there, it was fucking amazing. It was like,
absolutely,
so, which goes then hand in hand with the thing we've been doing now, the player or the torchbearer of the night.
mhm,
I think, well, It might have been ladies' night last week. It wasn't this week.
Mm-mm.
To me, I feel it can only be between one of two fellas this time around. The question is, the opinion is, do you give it to the person who's holding the knife or the person who's been stabbed in the heart? Now, I would love to say Mike White because of some great moments with him during that last half hour, but it's got to be the person who decided Mike's time has come.
Yes,
Got to give it to Christian because that was the move. And the
absolutely.
fact is, here's why I'll go where I totally agree with you. If he had gotten rid of Emily, it would have made sense because he can't work with her, but it also would have felt like a more emotional decision because of frustration, whatever.
Mhm.
Getting rid of one of the bigger threats who literally had just worked his magic on you, and you
Mhm.
realize like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I mean, I'll feed into Christian's ego the way as if it was myself. I would be like, if he can do that to me, and I'm probably one of the smarter people here, I mean, none of them are dummies, but Christian's clearly one of the smarter
Yeah,
people. He can totally work, any number of other
absolutely.
people, even on that tribe. But you can do it to me. Guess what you can do to Ozzy or Steph Gross or whoever.
Yeah,
Steph, you know who I meant.
yeah,
So the right now biggest move of the season so far. I didn't like it because I'd hate saying goodbye to Mike White, but you know what? They all got to go sometime, and I wasn't rooting for Mike White to win. So if he's going to be taken down, let him be taken down by one of my favorites in the game. And
yes.
Christian has still remained one of my favorites in the game, and that's what probably made it ultimately the most satisfying thing. Is like he got taken down by Christian, not by anyone else on that tribe. It was Christian who fucking did that. So
Um, I have in my notes absolutely player of the week, Christian. Um, again, I love Mike White.
yeah,
I thought it was, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. He's fun to watch. He's funny and all that. But for Christian to do that and do it then, because a part of me was like, "Oh, just get Emily out. She's so fucking stupid," or, whatever. But it was brilliant because the longer Mike was in that game, the harder he would have been to get out. Like, you had to get him out now. You had the numbers. And here's with Ozzy, okay? I know you don't hate Ozzy as much as I do now.
yep.
I know. And he has redeemed himself a little bit. Um, but he's just not strategic. He's just like, this is so for him to, "Oh, it has to be Angelina." Like, he's so short-sighted. Like,
What
you can't.
what Ozzy needs is and
He
he's
needs
strategic.
fairies and hand-holding.
He's strategic about not being strategic. He
Yes,
needs to have that person with him that he can be closely aligned with who can do the strategy for him. Siri was that
Siri.
person before. He
Mhm,
wanted, and here, that's why he was smart enough to know who's the strategy person on this tribe. It's Mike White. That's why he wanted Mike White as his number one. And
mhm.
plus, they know each other outside of, with the restaurant thing, blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
So they're already kind of friendly with each other.
mhm.
So that is why he clearly, if we all watch the ad for next week, Ozzy is not happy. I mean, he's like really fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, ooh, I like when that happens. Who's he gonna get mad at? Is he gonna have a fight with Gross? Because when someone tells him like, well, because Chris was like, well, I'm sorry, Ozzy, did we have an alliance? Because last I checked, we didn't. Not that I'm aware of. So, sorry, my microphone is doing a humming thing. Hopefully, I can filter that out later.
Well, see, here's the thing, though, I can't hear it. I totally can't hear the
Okay, good. It might just be my sound, so don't worry about it. Go on.
So, here's the thing, though. Okay, so I get where he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna align myself with Mike White, he's gonna be the strategic or whatever." Then fall in line with him, with what he wants to do. He was still so hell-bent, like, you can't and, "Oh, I'm gonna move Angelina out, and I'm gonna be his number 1." That makes no sense. Like, he's not going to do that because Angelina staying in the game makes sense for Mike White.
Right.
So, if you're gonna align yourself with him, Ozzy, then, okay, let him keep Angelina for now, and then let's see who he wants to get out and kind of roll with that.
If
But Ozzy gets on his high horse of, "Oh, it has to be this and blah, blah," and I think he does himself in.
Yeah, there had to be a better way to drum up support for getting rid of, like, say, Angelina, and maybe beyond just there just had to be a better way to go about it, and to not make it clear that you're trying to do it for yourself, for your own connection with Mike White.
Mhm.
And it really wouldn't have been that hard to do. And I thought he was on the verge of doing that, but he never really pushed the ball across. He never,
Mm.
because he could have, and quite frankly, you paint a picture which might not be true, but it'll work. Lie. You say, look, I know for a fact Angelina's his main confidant. That's who he's
Mhm.
talking. Doesn't mean she is. Doesn't mean that's true at all. Make it
Absolutely.
like that's who she is.
Mhm.
If we take that away from him, he flounders. He says, and he comes to us, and then we can lock in with him. But
Mhm.
you gotta take away that person. You got to take away his number. That's what it means when you take away someone's number one. Even if Angelina really, it might not necessarily be that to him. Other than like he likes her, he put her in his show. Big
He
fucking deal.
was his number one.
Yeah, but he's not co-conspiring with her about all the fucking moves.
No, no, she's his number one because he can, like, she's a
Well, she's a
balance to him.
puppet.
She's a puppet, absolutely.
Yeah. You don't present it that way. You present it like she's more necessary to him.
Mhm.
That's the strategy. You present it like she's vital to his game.
Mm.
Not she's a convenience for his game,
Mhm.
you know. But quite frankly, she's a fucking number. But if you're not going to try to target him himself, that's why you go after her.
Yeah.
Um, One can make the case to go after him in the first place, but you can say, look at his abs. His actually might help us in challenges. Angelina's not doing shit. Anyway, the point of it all was for me was this was an episode where the first 2/3, like I said, were meh, but that last half hour was like, okay, that was high concentrate, survivor cocaine, man. That was
Mhm.
that hit the spot, man.
I don't know anything about that, but I'll take your word.
Me neither. Plus, I don't know if the filters pick up nasal sounds. So if I noticed when I did a sound effect last week, my filters knocked it out. So you heard a big blank where it was actually a chorus of people booing. Anyway, I am looking forward to next week. Overall, good episode. Um, I mean, if the first 2/3 had been as good as the last half hour, it would have been one of the greatest of all time. It's not, but they've had a knack for giving us tribals that I don't know where they're going. And considering how often we've had tribals in the past just the last couple seasons where we're like, yep, pretty know where this is going. I'm enjoying that. And we haven't even gotten to any really wacky twists yet. Haven't needed them yet. So
Yeah. We have
interesting.
not. I wonder, do you think they're really gonna have them though? Because I'm surprised that the fans did not vote for, like, some kind of, like, Redemption Island or some kind of get
I think
game.
there's more stuff to come.
Mm.
Because, you know, did they say like dynamic game changing things?
Mm.
Maybe someone will break an hourglass and make it all go away.
Oh
I
god.
don't know. All right, I will at least start trying to do some quick wrap up things here because we had said pull the curtain back, see how the sausage is made here, people. I had said before we started recording, like based on this episode, other than that last half hour, we have no excuse if this is a long podcast tonight. And I made it longer with my hypothetical back in the beginning and some rambling, ranting here and there, but still, we should be done sooner than later.
Yeah.
So let me wrap things up here. If by any chance any of y'all ever want to get in touch with us, share your thoughts about the latest episode of Survivor and so on, you can email us at stvdpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, the Serious TV Drama Podcast. That's the page. You can either join or start a conversation about Survivor or pretty much anything that's TV related. And yes, we're both on that crappy cesspool called X, Twitter, or whatever it is, and Instagram, but who cares? Tiffany. Oh, wait, I shouldn't. You know what? I should wait till after I do this and then yeah, I don't want to make you wait. So hold on. I'm going to put you on pause for a second, Tiffany. Um, News on the podcast. I should say that. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, there will be another Twilight Zone podcast. I also have seen that The Boys comes back for its fifth and final season, which is a problem. It comes back on April 8th, which of course is a Wednesday because the makers of The Boys and God just don't like me. So I will have to sort that out with another frequent contributor to this podcast who has always been my co-host for our Boys podcasts because Survivor impacts both of our schedules, me and Miss Jamie. We'll figure it out. I don't know if we're gonna have to do just a mid-season boys podcast and then when to end it, or do I don't know. I know that our bandwidths are only so wide. We will figure this out. But obviously, we will continue doing Survivor every week till it finishes. And as I mentioned before, I think I said it on the podcast, we will be likely to have a third party join us at least once, if not more than that. Might even happen next week. We shall see. He certainly won't be a traitor to our podcast. Tiffany, as as you look to the side, I love the Zoom phenomenon of doing podcasts. See what people miss out because I don't do video casts because I don't want people to see me. Tiffany, I am so glad that you were able to join me once again on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm having so much fun. I know this episode wasn't the best, but I'm still really enjoying Survivor 50 more than I expected to.
Yeah, you were kind of you were like a doubting Thomas when the season started.
Some of the people they picked, I would not have chosen.
Yeah, I'm. Hey, do you remember my numbers?
I
I
know.
would have thrown a bunch of these people out. Like I said, went to the season. I don't need Mike White. Oh, love Emily. Went to this episode. Went into the tribal council. Oh, love Mike White. Get rid of Emily. The show, the show is doing a good job of making me change my mind about people. I'm going back and forth and back and forth. Anyway, don't go back and forth, listeners. We do thank you for listening once again. Because I'm trying to end this goddamn thing.
Yes.
I'll end it this way. I'll paraphrase Mike White. I'm sorry we got to leave early, but them's the breaks. Good night, everybody.
Good night.